the idea of taking like 75 new things at one time and not kind of building on top to have any understanding of like what do you what is working, where is it coming from? Oh, I had a side effect from something, but I have no way to break it apart
because I'm on 45 things
at one time, and and the product literally is all of it in a bag. Like what you went through, and if whether or not someone has something that's kind of acute or they transition into longevity maintenance, it is an evolving process. And for me, part of our mission is going to be driving down the costs of these things. The interaction, the intersection of capitalism and health is like a really kind of fucked up space, like it's like these products are things that you should be taking for decades, yet they're priced optimizing for like,
3 months at a time.
3 months at a time.
Right.
And it boggles my mind.
An entrepreneur straight out of New York City, Michael Chernow. What's cracking?
So, Blade. I remember Blade. I worked in the Hamptons for years as a kid, as a young kid. And I remember the drive to the Hamptons from the city is a fucking nightmare. It's just a nightmare. And so when Blade like popped off, I was like, this is incredible. Tell me about Blade.
Okay, so Blade, for me, Blade is an interesting story because my history is basically I founded GroupMe and then Blade and Splice at the same time. I was running Splice, and Rob Wiesenthal, who was a GroupMe investor, came into my office one day and was like, he had this problem, and it was kind of like this, him and Donnie Deutsch taking off at the same time in helicopters. Like, we would have shared the helicopter, like literally that, like total, like what story that as a kid, you're just like, what is happening here? And I was like, well, he was like, we got to fix this. And I was like, if, Elon has a rocket company on the side, I can do a helicopter company on the side. And so, it was really Rob's, dream. And then I did the name, the initial branding, the app, kind of some first team members. And then he ran it. And, I was just on the board and got to see what he created. And I think the thing that we had realized is that there was a chance, like if you look at everything I've done, I really like to create like category defining kind of companies where there's not real competition. There's just like a whole new way of doing things and doing it that much better. I once had a VC say like, most things we see is like 10% better in a market, and like everything you do is like 10x better than the experience that existed before. And so, that's it. And then I got to kind of sit and watch this emerge as a New York City phenomenon and be so iconic and showing up in movies and TV shows, and just being like one of those things that I would just get these texts that would just be like, I just had the best experience ever. You like revolutionized my life, either from the Hamptons or the airport. I mean, that's the accessible one that I would get more texts about, because it would be like, I got to JFK in 4 minutes. So, what Rob built, really incredible. It went public via a SPAC. It's still, it's still kicking, and it's been an incredible thing to watch, the initial effort then blossom into something.
Yeah, and for those listening that don't know what Blade is essentially it's a helicopter company, basically, right? It's a transportation business that takes people from New York City to either the Hamptons or to the local airports to beat the traffic.
Yeah, and that's like core products. We do, there's a bunch of other cities that, it operates in. There's an organ transplant business, transport business. And, there's been jets to Miami. It's kind of a short haul aviation company as they look at it.
Very cool.
It's just like got those iconic routes.
Do you think you were born an entrepreneur, or do you think you were honed over time?
I tried to register giftcertificates.com in 6th grade. And someone had already taken it. But I think it's like literally like wanted to be a software entrepreneur since before I knew how to program, before I knew anything, kind of like with initial exposure to a computer. Because for me, like, I'm a programmer and an entrepreneur, and like code is my canvas. Like, I'm not a great artist, I'm not great at sports. And that was the real place for me that I just felt like I could get into flow state and create. And so it was, the more I tapped into it, the more the feedback loop just inspired. But it was there from very early on.
What do you think that is? Like, if you had to define what that is, because I think a lot of people and I'm not talking about entrepreneurs here, I'm talking about just the masses, can spend their whole lives trying to understand what their passion is, what their thing is. So why do you think you were inclined to understand this about yourself at such a young age?
I think I was born with a lot of curiosity and a lot of almost challenging the system. Like I remember organizing like a school-wide protest in 6th grade about not going to Splish Splash Water Park for graduation. Like, why can't we do this? And it was that kind of like curiosity and challenge. And like, how I got started on, getting deeper with computers is like, mom bought me this computer and I kept getting viruses on it, trying to get free games and stuff. And every time it would break, she'd be like, eventually she was like, I can't pay to have this fixed anymore. So I broke it again. And then I was like, I got to fix it myself. And so that kind of like, then there's this kind of dopamine rush that comes. Like I'm decently ADD, and the dopamine rush for me and solving problems in code and computers, before it was just tinkering and all that, before I even got into programming, it just really hits for me. And it like really it feeds off me. So I'd say it's a mix of curiosity, a bit of the challenge of what the world could look like that feels like it was in there from the start. And then finding the right medium in order to get that loop going, the inspiration loop going.
I want to talk about SuppCo, but before that, I want to ask you about your absolute biggest fail, the most devastating fail you've had along your journey.
Okay. Yeah, that's easy. So it's the hit rate's been very good on the startups you've heard of. And then before that, right out of college, I worked one job and then I started a company called Simpact Technologies. And we were, I initially started to try to do the digital version of the Lance Armstrong bracelet to put on your MySpace page. And it was this dynamic image that would, because you could only put images on your MySpace page. And it was this like, unique tech that would change images when you open them. It turns out that was like good for email marketing. And, I ended up building that, raised some money from just my family. Couldn't get any outside investors. This was like 2007, 2008, New York City. New York City tech investing wasn't really like a thing yet. Got a couple good clients, got like, Starbucks, 1-800 Flowers. Things were going well, but I just burned out of all my family's money. This was friends and family and all that kind of stuff. And
how much did you raise?
Probably like 120 grand. Which was not nothing. My parents always said this was like the masters you decided not to go do. And so they were like very supportive, but I felt terrible about it. And I ended up going and working a job at Gilt Group. And some friends were really inspired and started down the path, of doing this company later, the idea, the kind of concept. And they gave me some equity as an advisor. And they ended up building it into a huge business called Movable Inc. And it was really amazing. They've done an incredible job. So it was a real fail at the time. And it's been they just announced that they're selling the company right now, which is kind of amazing. And it's a fail that has had a happy ending over time, but it was, it's a good 20 years of just knowing I had what felt to me like I had let my parents down.
Do you still sit with that, you think?
My dad passed away during COVID, pretty early during COVID. He got to see the GroupMe success, which was good. And he was inspired by what had become, but he never got to see me fully blossom into who I am today. So I don't get to share the whole journey there. So I have a little bit of regret, losing him at that point. But my mom's been there through all of it, and it's been great to see it kind of blossom. So I sat with it for a while, and I still think there's more, to do to support the family and think about how to inspire, the next generations and things like that. Because that shot, if I didn't have that shot from my parents, there was no one else going to fund me at that point in time.
I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask anyway. When you're ideating and creating, about to launch a business, or it's just brewing and there's no stopping. You're just a freight train. You're going to do it. How much does the monetary outcome matter to you?
Okay. Easy answers. In the beginning, nothing. right? GroupMe was made to go to concerts with our friends because I just wanted the app to exist. And Splice was made to everyone in the world, even coming off GroupMe success, was like, please don't build a music company. Please don't build a music creation company. The market's too small. You're never going to be successful. There's so many dead bodies. And I was like, this is what I want to do. Because if I don't get into that loop of inspiration, I'm worthless. So it has to be at its core the desire to create the thing in the world. I have to be very inspired to go do that. With SuppCo, there was a little more about, there was probably Splice has gone on for 10 plus years. It is a $150 million ARR business. We defied all the odds to build something big, but it's still up against market size pressure in terms of becoming a public company and all these kind of what does a real VC ending look like in all of its glory. And so with SuppCo, I definitely did have an intention of wanting to at least play in a much bigger market and one that still had that inspiration loop for me. So it's less about what the financial outcome looks like this time, but more about making sure I'm playing in a pretty uncapped scenario. And that's what I'm doing now.
SuppCo is a business that you have now brought to fruition and is out there in the market because you spent some time dealing with some health stuff.
Yeah, I spent 30 years dealing with some health stuff. I would say as a kid, I was the 6'5", 270 pound, guy that would make the football team and the basketball team and everything, and then just disappoint everyone. Never drop the weight, no matter how much. Football, you're doing 2 practices a day, running nonstop, weight wouldn't come off. So I got up to 300 pounds at one point, and it just, it was a lifelong health struggle. And then after we sold GroupMe, I was like, I can't anymore. I need to live. This is important. I was turning 30 and found a functional medicine doctor, started doing lab work, got deep, recommitted to diet and exercise, and had a transformation. So what do you think the catalyst to that transformation was? Honestly, I think it was working with the doc. When I was a kid, my mom has a hypothyroidism, and as a kid, I was just on the low end of normal, and the doctors wouldn't do anything about it. And so starting to take thyroid medicine, dial in my hormones, dial in my supplements, dial in kind of everything, and then create the loop of doing the quarterly blood work, so you're making sure nothing was going off the rails, gave you a lot more power to experiment. Because you had insights into things now. And so, I would have this Google spreadsheet of all the, my medications and supplements, because, people would ask, what did you do? What was your transformation? If I said diet and exercise, they're like, no, I don't want to hear that. And it was 10 years before Ozempic was the answer, so it was they would share my stack, and it was just what I was doing. And most of the time, people wouldn't know what to do with it because they're doctors. They didn't know a doctor to work with on these kinds of things. And so that was kind of a core thing I remembered that, after Splice, I stepped down as CEO, I don't know, it was 2023, 2022. And I wanted to build again, this desire to create, desire to build. And
can I don't want to derail this, but now that you said that, I think it would be really interesting to try to encapsulate what that is, because I think for entrepreneurs, it's very difficult for us to fight that urge, right? When that thing comes, when that desire to create something comes, can you just get into that a tiny bit, just so?
Yeah, recently I've been being asked that question, why are you doing this again? It's so hard. And to me, it's kind of like asking a musician not to create another album. It's just so flowing in you that you don't know where to put the energy that is literally running through you.
I think that's such a great way to put it. It's like a musician creating another album.
Yeah, and it's I don't really know. I did about a year off after stepping down, and we went. Fell in love, went to Antarctica, went to Egypt, did all the travels, all the great stuff. It was great, and then it was okay, cool. I need to build. And to me, it's not even just ideating. It's literally picking up the paintbrush, for me, which is programming. And so I just wanted to get sharp on, it was weird, the weird transition. The whole founder to CEO transition is a very difficult topic for me. And I think it's a difficult topic for most entrepreneurs who get past like, a certain level of success where you really need to move into a CEO mode and you're managing and you're doing that stuff. And that was not the easiest for me. And I just wanted to pick up the pencil and like go again.
Be a founder.
Yeah. And so I was like, I hadn't really full-time programmed in a decade or anything like that. And I wanted to get my skills sharp. And then it was just like kind of playing with the code and then being like, I need to build something. And it was like, what was going to cause that loop that I'm talking about? That just like, I wake up, people ask me like, what keeps you up at night? And it's like, well, what keeps me up is just getting excited about building the next thing and then wanting to build it in the morning. Like that's what keeps me up at night. And so that I got into the loop and the pattern, and then you're like, all right, well, this is going to be a company. And then you're like, okay, I want to hire some more people. Let's raise some money and let's go do it again.
I love that you said that because, it's interesting. So I came from the restaurant world,
Yeah.
right? And I built probably too many restaurants in a short period of time. And
I didn't know which meatball shop to order from. I had so many options in my delivery service,
The thing about being in the CPG world now,
Yeah.
which is cool for me,
Yeah.
is that I have this, I very deliberately did not, we sell this high protein overnight oatmeal,
Yeah.
but I very deliberately did not like make the business, I didn't name the business oatmeal, right? Like there's no oatmeal anywhere
Sure.
around, right?
Yeah.
So that it'd give me an opportunity to create products, right? Because every time, like I'm not a spray and pray create product guy and have 45 different SKUs on the
Yep.
on the platform, but every single SKU, we've only done 2, but we're on to our 3rd now, has taken like a strong year and a half-ish to like truly dive into and R&D and create and build. And so I feel like now with this business, I'm going to be here for a little bit longer because I have that itch, that urge
Yeah.
to build, to create, to generate, to innovate, to renew. I could do in this business, And so I just wanted to touch on that because I think you said it within the first minute of answering the question. It's like a musician creating another album. Like you don't question when your favorite band
you're like,
drops
oh, great,
a new album.
You're like,
yes.
yeah, why did you make your 17th album?
And it's so funny though, like entrepreneurs could potentially get shit for like
Correct.
for creating multiple businesses, right? And be like, oh, you're bouncing around. And it's actually like, no. You said that your code is essentially your canvas, right? It's you are a fucking artist.
Yeah.
You just are.
Right.
And it's essentially excreting that energy that is produced in an artistic way, not on a canvas traditionally, but in a business form.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, it's funny because I so much more focus on the product and like, the experience, and then the kind of business and company emerge from just trying to bring this thing into existence, right? And like I usually don't go in with any idea of what the business model is going to be. GroupMe never even made any money. It's still a top 30 app in the App Store, but it's that raw core desire that gets you going. And I think you're being really smart by not putting the oats and that stuff in the name, because you understand that you want like a platform to deliver the message or the world that you're trying to create, kind of not just as the individual product in there.
Yeah.
And as we went down the path with SuppCo as well, it was like the stack sharing was the initial kind of concept, but then it has now blossomed into like trying to solve the entire industry, which is riddled with issues at every step of the journey.
Right.
So it's
Let's dive into SuppCo, and then I want to ask you a little bit about your personal habits, because
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to hear about your habits, not only as an entrepreneur but now as a wellness entrepreneur.
Sure.
So my understanding is basically it's a platform where you can not only discover new supplements that have been vetted through your teams, but also people can share their supplement stacks, and they can also learn whether their supplements, the supplements that they are currently taking, are viable or not. Right?
Yeah. I mean, look, all those things, we are trying to make sense of supplements for you at every step of the journey. We want everyone in America to be on the tailored, optimized supplement stack that is right for them, and that is a journey for some people already have it, and they could see what could I be doing better, and some people need to get started from scratch. And so, if you're already taking stuff, we've got a nice little barcode scanner, scan your products. You can see the trust score rating, all the inactive ingredients, whether the manufacturing standards are right. And then you put them all together and we give you a score that helps you kind of, see where you are against your health goals and give you the ability to kind of like take next steps to optimizing your stack further. I don't think a lot of people like just know what to do next, or they've started taking things from random advice they've gotten over the years and don't have like a cohesive plan around it. So we're kind of with you every step of the journey, from figuring out, what is well researched nutrient wise for different health goals, which brands and products to trust, and then like things like, are you taking them at the right time? Like, are you taking them with food? Are you taking them in the morning? Are you taking them at night? And then, the thing that we're diving way deeper into right now too is, are they driving the expected outcome for you?
And how are you sort of quantifying that?
Yeah, so I mean, that's the system we're kind of going through right now is figuring out what are the kind of objective hard data, things we can do, from wearable data, blood markers, all that kind of stuff that is expected for what you're doing. What are the subjective things, like how are you feeling, what is your mood, and that kind of stuff. And then, and then the last one I'm playing with is like, are you just adhering to what the science says? Because you might not be able to, we might not have enough ways to kind of quantify this yet. But if you do those things and, you're not experiencing side effects along the way, you can give it a critical look and see whether or not it should be in your stack next month.
Are you contemplating building blood work into the business?
Look, I don't think we have a nice partnership with Function Health. I'm an investor in Function Health. Mark Hyman is an advisor of ours, and you can see his protocols on our platform. His personal stack is on the platform. We're going to allow people to bring their blood work in. We won't be collecting it or trying to do it, and it can come from whatever source you need to with our.
And so you can drop in your blood work.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
But as I said, the outcome measuring and the next levels of personalization. Like, we launched this thing in October of 24, and it hasn't even been out for a year in a beta, and it's just been a hit. And we haven't like finished the platform yet. It's doing so much, and our users, like, we have a 72 NPS, which is just like so great to see as an entrepreneur when people love your product that much. And we're still not done, right? And so we're building, and it's.
Give us some stories, some stuff that kind of opened your eyes a little bit in terms of like research that you've done, supplements that you've uncovered are not really.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one that comes to mind, we did our first real independent lab testing work on creatine recently. And, the creatine powders for the most part came back great and clean, but like everybody's on gummies right now. And of the 4 of the top 6 creatine gummies on Amazon had 0 creatine in them.
That is wild.
Zero, or what is known as a fairy dusting, which is so little, it's like you'd have to take 2,000 of them to get a therapeutic
Now, I have a question
dose.
for you. So do you think that has anything to do with the way these things are blended, that the gummies that were tested just didn't get the...
So here's the thing, like, we were talking to the lab about it, and when you looked at the gummy, it was like totally clear. Like it was clear that there was not the product.
So they just legitimately just did not add creatine to the gummies.
No. And we found a bunch of them on Alibaba, so we don't even know. They could be reselling ones from Alibaba that are just a box that says creatine gummy,
Man.
And the problem is they get the highest reviews because they taste good. And the ones that actually have the creatine don't taste as good. So they get lower Amazon reviews. So you've got this cycle of like the bad stuff coming to the top. And 2 of them, as the last time I checked, 2 of them had been pulled off Amazon. And, the other ones are getting a bunch of negative comments, and, we'll see what happens on it. But we got picked up in Wired. It got picked up in the information. It got really out there.
When did you do this?
This was only, a few weeks ago. So in June, right?
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
This is new. And then now here's the thing. We have a lot more coming. And you're going to see a pretty regular...
For creatine in
particular? Things. And, I'm not going to spoil it now, but some of
the
most...
This is the spoiler. Let's go.
Spoilers of what, without the results, you're going to see some in-depth on NAD. You're going to see some in-depth on urolithin A, which is a really cool, well-researched nutrient, but what products should you be able to trust? And then you're going to see some really interesting research on some of the, influencer doctor brands. We'll see if they pass the test.
Wow. So. It's so interesting because, I am so deep in the supplement world.
Yeah.
I mean, I have been using supplements for a long time.
Yeah.
I've been, wellness really saved my life.
Sure.
It came into my life when I was at my absolute bottom almost 21 years ago. And before it was called wellness, right? It was just like
You doing your thing.
it was just like someone had said, "Hey, dude, you need to be healthier.
Yeah.
This
Be
is
healthy."
the way to go." You know. So I've been using supplements a lot, and I use a lot of supplements to the day, and I work with some brands that I genuinely love. But the fact is that it's hard to really feel when a supplement is working or not, right?
Yep.
And unless you are doing quarterly blood work,
Yes.
which I do,
Yep.
you definitely don't know if these things are working or not.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's so hard. So having a business like yours that gives people true leverage
Right.
on being able to say, okay, you know what? Like I might not feel this.
But I'm following the science, following what other users who might be doing the blood work and I'm not are reporting that it's working for them. And then you know what blood work to do to see the result, which I don't even know if some people know which tests to run, you know? So on that front, like what's cool about, the brands you work with, the brands you love, you can go see the trust score for them on the platform. And what's cool is even if they're not good, we have been seeing, what I love too is where the brands want to be better.
Yeah.
There are good brands out there and they're like, thank you for, exposing how much work we're doing and giving us credit for all this research. They spend so much money on some of this stuff. And then there are other brands that are like, yeah, we should remove titanium dioxide from our product. And, the Maha movement just got it removed from Skittles and, all these other things. And, we've gotten it out of some pretty big name, supplements already just by showing it on the site. I was like,
So, I mean, I guess I want to call these guys out because I just want to know, like, everybody kind of is anybody in the world of supplements that takes it seriously is of the belief that Thorne is kind of like the
I love Thorne.
top dog.
Yeah. I mean, look, Thorne is 9.44 as a brand on the platform. And the difference from 9.1 to 10 is like, yeah, you're in really good territory there, right? Like the things that like a Metagenics are doing that's like a 10.0 is like they publish every one of their independent lot tests online for consumers to go look up. Like there are like true over the top gold standards that you can go do. And Thorne is in that upper echelon. They're better than 99% of the brands that are on the platform.
What about Puori? Do you know those guys?
Puori?
They're out of Denmark.
I don't. We can.
Oh, you got to
check
check those guys out. So they're like their main thing is omega-3s.
Okay.
But
which is like a very important one to not let it go rancid, especially if it's a fish oil. Like there's some real sensitivities on those.
They're kind of like the Thorne. They're
Cool.
big in the UK. They're kind of like the Thorne out there. I love that brand.
You know what's amazing about this though? The amount of affinity you have. What I've been really noticing too is like people's identities, like supplements as opposed to necessarily other parts of your health are becoming something people are very open and excited to share and like have brand loyalty and they like kind of want to show off. They're like, this is the one I'm doing. This is who I believe in. And so the ability, you can go check out my stack on the platform. It's, supp.co/Steve. And like, it's becoming like kind of part of our identities, especially as we've put in all this work to like figuring out which ones take and like see our own results. And you're doing all these labs and I'm sure you have like a real feeling for some of these.
Yeah. I mean, look, like, I think there's supplements and then there's sports performance supplements as well, right?
Yeah,
and like, I love Momentous.
Yeah, top brand too.
Momentous is a brand that I just will choose no other sports performance supplement brand. I think
choice.
that, and so anybody listening, like just know that like, there are so many out there, right? There's so many out there and it's so hard to navigate. And if you want to take it seriously, you should know what you're putting into your body.
Yeah, and look, that's like a big piece of what people love about the platform is they can look up any product so easily, get a trust score rating, see what inactive ingredients are in there, what they should be worried about, and make a decision. And then they also can make the cost versus quality decision. Because, my stack is like, close to $1,000 a month, which is a lot.
What do you? Can you rattle off your stack real quick?
I mean, if I gave my phone away, but I think I can pull it up and put a couple things in there. But like, something like a timeline with the urolithin A, that's over $100 a month on its own.
Yeah.
And so.
And you think, and timeline for urolithin A is the one?
I mean, it is a 10 out of 10 on our platform for the clinical research done behind it. I think that most of the high-end doctors that you talk to a Mark Hyman, you talk to Darshan Shah, and you start to see these guys are like true believers in this product. And
it's a longevity thing, right?
It's a longevity thing. It's about, keeps your mitochondria and your muscles going strong as you, it stops like muscle loss.
And it's like aging. A pomegranate extract.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot of science behind it. And in the stack, like I have, one of the things that I kind of uncovered, like similar to you and the wellness thing, like I started doing this stuff in 2010, which feels like a long time ago at this point. But I'm probably one of the younger people who was like proactively tracking their heart plaque. So, I did my first calcium scan when I was 30 years old. No plaque, great. Did it again at 35, had some heart plaque. I had like an 8, which is a very minor amount, but the fact that I had any, I was off the charts because they didn't have any 35-year-olds that had a score at all. Mm-hmm. And then by the time I was 40, it was up more. And so I had even been on some statin therapy at 35. And then, as I hit that next number, I'm like on very aggressive. I try to keep my LDL at like 25, which is nuts. But because of that, you need to take, CoQ10. You need to take, I take DHEA and pregnenolone as like hormone precursors to help with the other hormone production. And so there's I have a whole cardiac, I'm on a nattokinase, which is got some interesting data. I'm going to get my new Clearly soon. I'm going to see if I've actually been fighting this heart plaque or not. So I do it every 3 years. And, I'm really excited to see if these things have been working to cut this stuff back.
There's so many things that we can do. I unfortunately am one of these guys that's from very young. I mean, similar to how I kind of was born like you as a creator.
Yep.
I was also kind of born a hypochondriac.
Sure.
And so I've always been like, a kid in like 3rd grade got appendicitis, and like I just thought I was going to have appendicitis for most of my life.
I mean, you did have Lyme. You had pretty serious Lyme. I heard about your autoimmune. Like, hey man, the fact that you had that ANA negative test is insane,
like, crazy.
Yeah,
crazy. And that is the first time that from taking blood work with like my primary care, ANA positive was there.
Yeah.
So showing ANA negative was a big deal for me.
Yeah, and look, when I heard that, I was like, oh, this needs to be talked about. This needs to be studied. This needs to be understood, because like we're entering this era. I mean, I love the age of medicine we're in now, right? As someone who feels like they were completely, failed as a kid. The fact that we have the ability to take these things into our own hands, this kind of self-directed health movement, and see real change is just such an exciting time. And it's just kind of accelerating and compounding in a lot of ways. Like, is everyone going to be a biohacker, especially in an age of AI where so many other responsibilities might get off our plates, that it gives us more attention to focus on ourselves? But yeah, I just brought that up because I was so impressed by.
Yeah, me too, man. It was a big eye opener for me.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll say to that though is working with a functional doc or a naturopath or integrative medicine doc.
Yep.
Specifically on a when you have a target, not just like general overall health, when you have like a target that you're trying to accomplish. The fact is that it is a tedious process. I mean, you are going to most likely, whether it's your gut, whether it's autoimmune, whether it's some sort of a virus or a disease that you're working towards, like you are going to have to take an enormous amount of supplements. It is just and it's a lot, and it's costly.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, and honestly, I had to step back because there was a lot of stress around it, because I was on like 30 supplements a day, different times of the day, before eating, 20 after your 5th bite of food, just like it's a lot. So choosing to take that path is a massive commitment. However, like I have pretty significant chronic Lyme.
Right.
And I walk through life pretty awesome.
That's great.
And I have to, and I owe it to literally my first interaction with a functional medicine doc, Frank Littman, in 2017. Great. That guy, he single-handedly like looked at me and told me what was wrong with me.
I mean, that feeling of actually, there are so many people that have, even my fiance has like a kind of undiagnosed autoimmune that, hasn't flared up in a long time, but it kind of pokes its head up a little bit. and just the hopelessness that you can have when you're going on. I mean, I had 2 employees who went through the Lyme battle, got the complete shit kicked out of them, and went through it all. And I think the thing is, especially with managing your stack when it comes to the supplements, I think it's an evolving process. Mm-hmm. I think some people, if they jump in one day and think that they should take, there's a thing I struggle a little bit with, the blueprint. As much as I really love that Brian Johnson puts all of his data out there, the idea of taking 75 new things at one time and not kind of building on top to have any understanding of what do you what know is working, where is it coming from? Oh, I got I had a side effect from something, but I have no way to break it apart
because I'm on 45 things
at one time, and and the product literally is all of it in a bag. So the what you went through, and whether or not someone has something that's kind of acute or they transition into longevity maintenance, it is an evolving process. And for me, part of our mission is going to be driving down the costs of these things. The interaction, the intersection of capitalism and health is a really kind of fucked up space. These products are things that you should be taking for decades, yet they're priced optimizing for
3 months at a time.
3 months at a time.
Right.
And it boggles my mind. I remember being on a product for 5 years and reaching out and being like, hey, can I just get a discount? And they were like, no. And I was like, cool, I'm just going to stop. It's just too much. And so that this is what I mean that's so exciting about the SuppCo mission for me, is that there's problems at every step of the journey in a market that 74% of Americans participate in that take a supplement. And so the love we're seeing from our users, the love that we're getting from even the slices we've successfully taken, is just one step in a very long journey. And that part, that managing, okay, now I'm on a lot, maybe I should scale them back, see where I'm at there. When we get that right, we're in a dream state. I
will say a new supplement that I'm taking that I'm really excited about, especially because I actually went to the launch of their of the supplement, is IM8.
I was just going to say, I shit on the too many things at one time, but my doctor friends are saying that the IM8 is really well researched and it is a top scoring product on our platform.
So where I saw IM8 really helping me is in nervous system regulation for me. And the only reason why I know that is because once I started taking it, my sleep scores shot through the roof.
Wow.
Right? And look, I mean, I'm not wearing my Whoop right now because I got the new Whoop and I unfortunately lost my battery in Europe. But as you can see, I have my Whoop band tan line. But I pay very close attention to my sleep.
Yeah,
and sleep is super duper duper important to me. So when I saw that my slow wave and REM sleep started to increase and my HRV actually started going up, that was I was like, oh shit, this is, and I had not introduced anything else.
Sure.
So I think that that product there are a lot of things in there, and I brought it up because you had said, you know, too many things at one time. I do think that there are some people that are doing it really, really well, and they've thought through, being NSF certified for sport also.
Big deal.
Big deal,
Big
man.
filter on our platform. For the athletes, it's absolutely critical, and then it just creates a standard bar. If you're NSF certified for sport, your trust score rating is usually quite high.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to be, too. I think with the IM8, too, it's it's one of those ones where I do, if people successfully take powders, like something like creatines, I feel like the fact that creatine can't be, people's other struggle in this space is just, do they take them?
Right.
30 to 50% of bottles go unfinished.
Right. Just forget it.
Yeah. And so if that delivery format is the best way to get those nutrients into you, and I'm pretty sure IM8, I'd have to double check, but they're really good about not having proprietary blends with unknown amounts in them. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing with some of these products that have so much, they're oh, proprietary blend. And all of a sudden they have a bunch of things that you might be taking, but you don't actually know how much is in them.
Right.
And that to me is a real turnoff. And so I'm pretty sure that they avoid that, which is really helpful.
Yeah. And by the way, nothing against the other super famous powders, but the shit tastes really good too.
That's great. I mean, that's always, as I said, if the mechanism in which you are going to successfully take it is so important.
Totally.
I got one you should check out that I started recently called Nella It is by Fit Bionomics. It is, so they're studying the gut microbiome of like super endurance athletes, high performers, and they're noticing that they have these strains that are very uncommon in anyone else. And they're delivering it in a probiotic. And Nella specifically, I remember I was on a call with the founder, and he was talking about HRV going up. And I had gotten a notification that morning that my HRV baseline had gone up. And I didn't even know that it was from, that was an expected benefit of this thing.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's really, they have a V-Nella one too, which is about lactic acid breakdown that only the like extreme endurance athletes have in their gut microbiome.
You know, so I've been an athlete for a long time, and I'm like, you know, sort of, I don't want to say winding down my competitive athletic journey, but I'm certainly like, it's not like I don't need to be competing all the time like I used to.
Yeah.
But I will say that I know athletes that like have competed in things that don't have gut issues.
Well, the thing I was going to ask you that's really important is, have you gotten your calcium scan for your heart?
I have, and knock on wood, thank God, it was about 2 years ago, so I probably am due for another, but I had zero calcium.
Yeah, there you go. Some of the endurance athletes don't know this, but they can be building up a lot of heart plaque. It's like something in the like pretty much the extreme endurance, people, and you come across someone that dies of a heart attack in their 50s and like, they were the healthiest person I know. How is this possible? And so I'm just like a big proponent of everyone getting, a Clearly or a heart flow scan.
Yeah.
Like, I did it at 30, but do it now. Get that baseline, because if you've got that soft plaque and you're not, aggressively treating it, you're a ticking time bomb.
Totally. And I also, so I have a really great guy coming on the podcast after you today, and one of the questions that I want to ask him, because he's an athlete, but he's also a coach, trainer. Something that I've kind of come to the conclusion of is that the way I have been training and the way a lot of my friends have been training, right, is not. It's a new thing.
Okay.
In the last, I'd say, 20 years, people that train like that are traditionally, for decades, professional athletes.
Okay.
That's what they do for their work. You know what I mean? Like, they are professional athletes. That is their work.
Yeah.
Training that hard, that intense, that's what they do. And now it's become more of a mainstream thing to train till you die. Train till you hit the floor and you can't breathe, you throw up, you whatever it is. You know what I mean? You're done. You go to the bone. But you also have work on top of that. It's not your work.
Yeah.
So now you're beating your body up like a professional athlete, and you have the stress of work on top of that, and you're potentially married with kids. Like, the way my body has been responding in the last year or so, like, things are not like falling apart, but certainly not like optimized on in fifth gear.
Sure.
Like, I have felt things kind of coming off the hinges a little bit.
Yeah.
And not just like physically, just like with my blood biomarkers have been a little bit all over the place. Like, I don't think it is healthy to train that way.
I love it you say that. I mean, I think that for me, so I'm a tough case, right? Like, I've gotten generally in health, but muscle building is still very difficult for me. I get injured pretty easily. I think I get inflammation, like, tendonitis and things quite quickly. And so I have to find like a training that lets me train without doing too much. And also, now that I'm a dad, the amount of time I actually have to dedicate time-wise to my health is like, I would say it's like 3 to 4 times a week, 60 minutes, 90 minutes max, but you go out and you watch some of the fitness influencers and wellness people and even the doctors, and you're like, man, they're spending like, they're not biohackers, they're biomaxers. They're spending hours and hours on this like you are a professional athlete or it's like your job. And I feel like there's a gap a bit in truly managing a finite amount of time and a finite amount of effort and maybe even a finite amount of motivation in order to build habits that are going to work for people. And I think it's going to change as you age too. And I think, for me, I'm having to readapt. I was in probably the best shape I've been. I was doing like Legree Pilates, 3-4 times a week and a little bit of lifting and stuff before the baby came, because I was like, I know it's going to go off the rails when the baby came. And I don't know, between, that first year of parenting, we lost our house in Palisades fire. My ability to like get back into a routine that works for me has been like a struggle, right? And so I think you're right. Is like, what is going to work as people age? How hard should they be pushing themselves? What are our goals? How much is vanity looks? How much is truly longevity? Like my big thing is, I got to be able to pick up my kid and be able to keep pace with them and be around and be strong enough to kind of have a 99 percentile sized boy growing up and needing to be lifted up. And so that like adapting to that and finding something that works for people, especially as we age, it's tough.
I think it has most people that get into the world, specifically the fitness world, 98.9% are vanity, right? You want to look better, right? Yeah. And that's okay. There's there's nothing wrong with that.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that
at all.
Yeah.
I actually think it's wonderful.
As again, what's finding you the motivation loop to do this work, right? And if vanity is a drive and that's got you going and that's what gets you to show up, you're showing up. It's great. You're ahead of the game.
What I have now concluded though is that's great. Work out, eat well, be in great shape, be ripped, be shredded, awesome. But when you stack on the stress of work and the stress of family life, right? Your nervous system is just shot. Your nervous system is just shot.
Sure.
It just is shot. It's just what it is, right? Yeah. And when your nervous system is shot, it impacts everything.
Yeah.
Literally, it impacts mental, physical, spiritual, the whole thing, right? When you're not giving your nervous system an opportunity to regulate, you are going to be in a world of trouble, and it's going to impact your health in a real way, right? You might think running 100 miles is healthy when someone can run 100 miles. Oh my God, that guy's killing it. But at the end of the day, it's just not.
Yeah.
It's just not, and I'm not taking away anything from ultra runners and the whole ultra craze that's happening. By all means, go for it. It's great. But I will say that I just hosted a men's retreat.
I was just going to go there. It's so funny you said that.
I just hosted this men's retreat in June. That was it's the closest to perfect thing I've ever done in my life. Closest to perfect thing I've ever done in my life. I would not have changed a single thing. Nobody worked out. 30 guys, 4 days on my property.
Wow.
It was the most powerful, most enriching experience. And what I kind of concluded from that experience of what it was a surge into central nervous system, autonomic nervous system regulation.
100%.
That is exactly what it was. And everybody walked away from that thing feeling holy shit. And we just don't do it. We don't do it enough, right? You can take all the supplements in the world.
100%.
You can eat the healthiest food in the world. You could work out 5 days a week. You could have, great cardiovascular ability. But if you're not taking care of that CNS, you are going to butt up against shit.
I mean, look, the thing that I was about to say as you brought up your retreat was I'm in a men's group that meets every week. We're doing it for 2 hours every Monday night, and we've just moved it back to 90 minutes. And I do executive coaching, and since the fires, we've been in weekly couples counseling just to kind of navigate that space. But I 100% agree with you. The men's group, particularly, and just focusing on what is the emotion most present right now, and where is it showing up in your body.
Are you doing every man? Is that the...
Yeah, it's an every man. That's a core is every man, and it's evolved a bit from there. It's not like we don't do it as strict as we did before, but yes, that was the core of everything we were doing. And I remember my first experiences. One, they were extremely psychedelic experiences, just visualizing where your own emotions are in your body. And it's like surreal when someone guides you through the journey, like what your experience can be. And it's also incredible the release that you can feel by just seeing it and observing where it's showing up and what it wants, and like almost interacting and talking to it. And then all of a sudden there's this nervous system drop. And like, you may not have worked through the issues and stuff because you're really not focused on solutions. You're really focused on like giving presence to the emotion. But it is some very powerful work. I'm glad you're hosting retreats because I also find the format is very hard to scale. Like, Everyman is as a good format that has grown a bit, but people find a men's group and get involved. It's a hard process, to get in. We've been in almost the same group of guys with some changes for they've been doing it for 6+ years, And then the other side of it is not just doing it for having yourself recognize it, but being able to hold space for other people. And that is an art, and that is a gift to give. And it is powerful. And, I walked 2 people through an experience in group, not this week, the week before. And they're all week, they were just in a completely different place and thanking me for giving them that journey. And I'd been out for a bit because of the fires and had stepped back in with a couple new tricks and of how to kind of guide them through things. And it is a beautiful thing. And I agree with you 100%. If you are not, some people, I think the daily meditation thing is just it might not be for them, might not work. This reset on a weekly basis for me, gives me a week's worth of central nervous system reset for sure.
I'm so happy that you mentioned that because, and this is me just being vulnerable and transparent. Yeah. I joined a men's group that meets on Tuesday nights, and they use that Everyman as a sort of foundation.
Yep.
And I just found it for me, I found it to be, now it might be the people, although I love all the guys, but I found it to be way too restrictive for me.
Yeah, it's very rigid.
Not being able to you cannot share any advice that you could offer potentially another guy who's just sitting next to you sharing about an experience that he's struggling with. You cannot say, oh, well, let me share about what, you can't, you have to speak in eyes.
Don't have the story in it.
The sitting for 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes in silence before somebody says something. For me, I was just I don't know if I'm getting anything from this, and no one in the group has really led anybody through an experience about the question has been asked, where are you feeling that in your body?
Yeah.
But I'm so happy you brought it up because I was ready to just call it quits on it, honestly. But maybe I've just maybe I'm setting my own expectation for what it should be because I want it to be a little bit more fluid. I want it to be a little bit more conversational. And maybe that's me trying to control the thing, which unfortunately I'm not
No, I hear you. Look, Dan Doty, I think, was one of the Everymen founders, and we had invited him into the group to, help us work on our skills and stuff. And one of his first lines was "fuck the rules," and it was the guy who foundationally built a bunch of the rules. And our coaches that have come in, basically, we use the Everyman kind of as a reset. If we are off the rails or the format's not working or group's losing its container, we kind of can revert. But, I work with this executive coach and men's group leader, John O'Connor, who just has come in and just just freaking taking me on journeys. And he has totally different techniques. And so now we're a mix of a lot of different techniques that come in that kind of reset foundationally, if you need to the Everyman container. But we've evolved it. And I wouldn't be afraid to evolve it. I would just make sure, people can get really wrapped up in story. Right. And there's a couple things that you really need to guide people away from and too solutions focused. But last week, honestly, we were almost it was a small group. There was only a couple of us there. And we were just almost in all solutions mode for someone who was going through a relationship issue. And they just needed to hear our perspective, and they needed a reframing, and they needed to do it from the outside, not just from the inside. And so I think we are very respectful of the original container, yet we deeply push it into new territory, because similar to you, I think the group, we just kind of got bored of it after a while. And so you don't, there's a couple good coaches I could put you in touch with too.
I would love that, because I think that I've kind of, and it's rare that I give up on something, but I think it's, I've kind of thrown in the towel on it, and it takes a lot for me to do that. I just don't look forward to it.
Yeah, no, I think if that happens, and you can feel in the group, we've gone through that evolution where you can tell that we're not looking forward to it.
I just don't look forward to it.
Yeah.
Like, I want to not go.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, so then why are you doing it?
And why are you doing it? Exactly.
And I was like, yeah. But before we end here, I want to ask you about some habits that you've stuck to for a period of time that have been impactful in your life, whether they're part of a morning routine, an evening routine, things that you do throughout the day potentially to keep you organized, tools. I'd love you to share some of those.
Yeah, look, I mean, when I thought about it, I really did think about the weekly stuff a little bit more. I was going to bring up men's group. I was going to bring up executive coaching, and now the couples counseling, because I found it through the fires. It's been so important. On the daily, it's like, I do have my supplements and medications broken into my morning without food, kind of fasted start, a with food lunch and a before bed. I do have to, if I don't force myself into a workout, I do not really have, unless I start really nailing it with a class or I have a personal trainer, my motivation just tends to kind of trail off, and I tend to let work come in first thing in the morning. And so I have to stick to a pretty regimented, you are going to this class, booked out multiple, week in advance. Legree Pilates did really well for me in terms of the ratio of effort to injury. I don't get injured, my core gets strong, that one works really well. And then personal trainer for strength and kind of the HIIT type stuff. And then other than that, the things, the rituals that are great for me is we do a daily stand up with our team. And work-wise, I just really love being able to check in with kind of everybody across the business in kind of a synchronous and lightweight environment that that we use an app called Roam instead of Zoom. That lets me see where everybody is, if they're in their office doing work, if they're on a Zoom, if they're in a meeting room with other people, and you can just kind of tap on it and knock on the door to come join. And so I feel like I'm in the room with people, which I'd say in the work from home era, man, my old routine was wake up first thing, go to the gym with my trainer, walk everywhere in New York, which was great. But dad life is a fucking different game. And I'm still trying to figure it out, to be perfectly honest. Coming around and telling you that I have, and it's funny, you have your podcast listeners listening to these routines of success. I could go back to the GroupMe era and tell you that my routine was drinking, 10 drinks out at events all night long, and then waking up on 5 hours of sleep and getting to work and doing that for a year. And that was successful. Was it sustainable much longer? I don't think so. But I feel like I've gone through almost every different iteration of what the habits can be. And I've had success in different forms through those things. But the commitment to health, after GroupMe, I was like, this wasn't sustainable, and hangovers are impossible. I stopped drinking in 2017. That has been a real game changer for me. I mean, I just would have no ability to do it. And for me, it's just spending a lot of time with my kid. I take him in the mornings before, I would take him when he was on the West Coast waking up at 6:30, and I would take him from 6:30 to 8, work out at 8, kind of start my day at 9:30, and then I kind of finish quicker. It's 6-ish these days from the core work, and spend time with them before bed. And if I need to catch up on something at night, I will. I'll tell you, the energy levels at night are not what they used to be during first year of kid. I'm getting them back a little bit, but falling asleep in the baby's room after you put them down is...
I know all about that, man. I know all about that.
Yeah. And I kind of want people to hear that, their life situation is going to create only a certain amount of bandwidth for their habits, and that trend in the direction of health and longevity, and adapt to where you are, man. In my 20s, I could do a lot more shit to my body and be okay the next day than I can do now. It's I'm floored that we would, the GroupMe era was go out drinking with the product text each other about what bars and stuff we were going to, and then come in the morning hungover and eat bacon, egg, and cheeses and get going. Like it comes in every form, but I do feel that this is a sustainable form, and like at least what I felt like I had before baby came, and I will be rebuilding to a sustainable form. And so, yeah, I mean, that's my kind of thoughts on it.
Brother, what a great conversation, man. I appreciate you coming. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you've done. Putting a platform out there for people to be able to really sort of lift up the hood and kind of see what's in there and see like if what they're taking is actually efficacious and real. And it's important, like our bodies, they are our temple, and things do have an impact, right? Like whether you feel it or not, like anything that you are absorbing into your body is going to have some sort of an outcome, right? And you want that outcome to be awesome, whether you feel it or not, right? Yeah. And so I love the platform. Where can people find SuppCo? Where can they follow along your journey? Yeah, sure.
SUPP.co is the site, and you can check out my stack at SuppCo/Steve. And then I have an OG handle on Instagram and X now, but if I'm at Smart on those platforms, if you want to follow me along. I'm excited to get your stack on the platform. I got to see what you're taking.
I'll get my stack.
Post a link when we post this. We're going to post your stack. So.
All right. I love it. Dude, thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it's great.
Another good one in the books, fam. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for listening. This was a really interesting one. That conversation flowed like the Nile. It was just easy and smooth. And I feel like there's a lot of value there. A lot of value. We covered a lot of things. So do me a favor. The rent I ask you to pay for listening to this podcast is to pass it off to a friend. Pass it off to a friend. Pass it off to a family member. Post about it on social media. This was a good one, and it should be out there because this kind of content is the stuff that's valuable, as opposed to a lot of the stuff that we consume, which is, let's just call it not valuable. Anyways, y'all, I appreciate you. I love you. 5-star rating. Give us a review. Subscribe to the podcast. Really helps us grow. Have a wonderful day. A wonderful weekend. Until the next one, y'all. Peace.